Hello and good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Azlani and you're watching Updates at Noon. Making the headlines today, government never forced children to be vaccinated. And physical campaigning allowed for Johor state election. The government had never forced parents to register their children to be vaccinated through the National COVID-19 Immunization Program for Children, kids. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Semasa Yaakob said the notion that the government was forcing children to be inoculated via kids was untrue, as parents have always been given a choice on the matter.
Untuk kanak-kanak mungkin perkara ini baru lagi dan it's quite normal kepada rakyat kita apabila perkara baru tu mereka lihat dulu. Lebih-lebih lagi banyak cerita-cerita yang bukan-bukan. Jadi kita tak menyalahkan rakyat kerana tahu sajalah anak kecil mereka mungkin mereka takut berlaku apa-apa yang tidak baik, walaupun Kementerian Kesihatan telah pun memberikan jaminan bahawa tidak akan ada isu yang berkaitan dengan anak mereka yang divaksin. Tapi seperti saya kata, kita tak paksa rakyat, terserah kepada rakyat untuk memikirkan.
Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said this when responding to reports that the vaccination rate under kids was still under 10%. As of Thursday, a total of 341,960 or 9.6% of children aged between 5 and 11 have received their COVID-19 vaccine first dose through kids. The Prime Minister said the COVID-19 booster shot rate was also increasing despite negative talk surrounding the vaccine. Meanwhile, the country's recorded 27,808 new COVID-19 cases yesterday, bringing the cumulative figure to 3,166,023 cases. From the number of new cases, 27,689 are local transmissions, while another 119 are imported cases. According to Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah, of the total 27,705 cases, or 99.63%, were in categories 1 and 2, while 103 cases, or 0.37%, were in categories 3, 4 and 5. In a statement on the development of COVID-19 today, the Health DG said a total of 12,488 recovered cases were recorded, bringing the cumulative total of recoveries to 2,900,682, while the number of those in the intensive care unit ICU stood at 235 people, with 132 of them needing respiratory assistance. In addition, Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham said 16 new clusters were also detected yesterday, bringing the total active clusters to 486. He also said that the country's infectivity rate stood at 1.27, with Labuan recording the highest rate at 1.99, followed by Sarawak at 1.50 and Sabah 1.47. Terima, talks, physical campaigning and house-to-house visits will be allowed throughout the 14-day campaign period of the Johor state election. According to the Standard Operating Procedures SOP for the polls issued by the Election Commission, Terima and campaigns will only be allowed at party offices and official operations room, with participation limited to 100 people. The EC said organisers will need to obtain permits from the police for Terima, talks and campaigns held, adding that these activities can only be allowed for 2 hours and not after 10 p.m. It said Terima, talks and campaigns in open or public premises and any form of entertainment during were not allowed the campaign period. As for house-to-house visits, the EC said participation must not exceed 5 people, who will also not be allowed to enter homes or meet their occupants, adding that distribution of campaign materials such as pamphlets must be done outside the gates. On the SOP for polling day, the EC said voters are required to wear double face masks, while voters with symptoms such as fever, cough, sore throat or have difficulty breathing should be immediately isolated from other voters and vote in special areas such as tent, room or designated space. After voting, symptomatic voters will be managed by officers from the Ministry of Health MOH on duty for further action, including taking an antigen rapid test kit self-test. The Commission said tents, rooms or designated spaces must be disinfected based on MOH guidelines as soon as each voter with symptoms has finished voting. Voters who test positive for COVID-19 will not be allowed to leave the treatment area to vote to prevent infection and transmission of the virus. As for patients under investigation, PUI, and persons under surveillance, PUS status, they need to apply to the district health officer to go out temporarily to the polling station, and permission is subject to a risk assessment done. Further information on the SOP for the Johor state election can be accessed via the EC's official website. Polling day has been set for 12th March, nominations on 26th February and early voting on 8th March. Meanwhile, Deputy Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Dato' Rosal Wahid has advised traders and entrepreneurs in Johor against taking the opportunity to raise prices of goods and food during the Johor election. He said he did not rule out the possibility of certain parties taking advantage of a big crowd during the Johor poll, starting with a nomination day on 26 February, followed by 2 weeks of campaigning.
Pilihan raya ke tak pilihan raya ke, tugas kita sama saja. Jika berlaku pencatutan, kita ambil tindakan. Sama ada pilihan raya, memang kadang-kadang ada orang ni, mana-mana tempat pun bila berlaku orang ramai ni, kadang-kadang ada sebahagian yang ambil kesempatan yang tidak bertanggungjawab. Tapi kita harap peniaga dan juga pengusaha di PRN Johor supaya tidak menekan dan tidak mengambil kesempatan dengan adanya PRN ini.
Dato' Rosal said this after conducting inspection yesterday on the supply of essential items in the rural area at a supermarket in Bukit Goh, Kuantan, which was also attended by KPD and HCP Enforcement Chief Azman Adam. A collaborative effort among cooperatives in the country can help stabilize and reduce the price of basic necessities, ultimately benefiting the people. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said with a strength of 6 to 7 million members involving almost 14,000 registered cooperatives nationwide, cooperatives were seen to be able to play an important role in controlling the prices of goods. For example, he said cooperation among cooperatives could be established by purchasing goods in bulk for retail sale.
Kalau pemborong ini membeli secara pukal, secara bulk purchase, ya, secara pukal, tentu saja harga pembelian itu lebih murah. Saya juga beritahu Tuan Serino, kalau mereka mahu menjadi pengimport ayam sebagai contoh, kita benarkan, kita beri MP kepada pemborong koperasi tadi dan mereka boleh supply kepada kedai-kedai di bawah mereka.
The Premier said, however, there needed to be strong cooperation among the cooperatives and their members to make it a success. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said all forms of government financial assistance to micro, small and medium enterprises should be completed by the first week of March. He said assistance included a 3,000 ringgit grant, interest-free loans through government agencies, as well as a one-year moratorium. Sports, Malaysia at Japan to set up Asia team semis date with South Korea. National Under-23 squad head coach Brad Maloney has been left to rue his side's failure to capitalise on their chances in their shock 2-1 loss to Laos in the first Group B match at the 2022 AFF Under-23 Championship in Cambodia yesterday. Maloney said they should have done better and scored more goals, especially in the first half of the match at the Prince Stadium in Phnom Penh. The Australian coach also admitted that the team lost their way in the second half, thus allowing Laos to stage a fight back.
Yeah, again, we have to approach it, as a sudden death, more or less, match, which is what it is. So, if we want to progress, we have to be at our best. And as I say, I expect another challenging game from this Laos team, who are a very good team. And, we just have to improve on certain areas.
Malaysia drew first blood through midfielder A. Salvan at the stroke of half-time before Laos keeper Bun Panchan Abunkon inspired a comeback for Laos when he equalised in the 55th minute. Defender Pet Davan Sangville's header from a perfectly floated Bun Panchan free kick then found the net in the 78th minute to ensure Laos walk away with all 3 points in the first tie against Malaysia yesterday. Laos now have the upper hand and Malaysia have no choice but to win the second match against Laos, at least by a 2-0 margin if they hope to get into the last 4. The Group B fixtures only involve Malaysia and Laos after Myanmar and Indonesia withdrew from the championship due to COVID-19 infections in their teams. The Malaysian men's team managed to escape with a narrow 3-2 win over second-string Japanese side to top Group B and qualify for the semi-finals of the Badminton Asia Team Championship BATC 2022 last night. In the men's semi-finals later today, 2020 runners-up Malaysia have been drawn against South Korea, while reigning champions Indonesia have been pitted against Singapore. National number 1 and world number 7 Lee Zijia got off to a nervy start, stumbling to a 15-21 first game loss to world number 343 Riku Hanato in the opening singles. Fortunately, Zijia managed to regain his composure and bounce back to beat the 20-year-old Japanese 21-6, 21-15 after a tense 56-minute battle. There was no such luck for Tokyo Olympics men's doubles bronze medalists Aaron Chia and Su Woo Yik, who suffered embarrassing 21-23, 16-21 loss to world number 857 Ayato Endo and Yuta Take. The world number 7 pair looked set to win the first game when they led 2014 before they somehow lost their focus and the big lead, as the Japanese pair, both aged 21, staged a magnificent fight back. From being 1-0 up, Malaysia then found themselves trailing 2-1 when second single shuttler Aidil Sholeh Aldil Sadikin lost 21-19, 16-21, 15-21 to Ku Takahashi in an exciting 1 hour and 16-minute clash. Second doubles pair, Goh Sive, Nur Izzuddin Muhammad Rumsani deserve credit for bouncing back from a first game loss to add Shuntaro Mezaki and Haruya Nishida 17-21, 21-17 and 21-17 and level the scores at 2-2, thus setting the stage for an exciting climax. World number 126, Leon Junhao, did not disappoint as he turned saviour for Malaysia when he overcame Koshiro Moriguchi 21-18, 21-16 to earn the winning point. National goal-scoring sensation Faisal Sari bagged a double to inspire the Terengganu hockey team THT to a 3-2 win over Tenaga Nasional Berhad TNB and lift the 2022 Charity Shield, which marks the start of the Malaysian Hockey League MHL at the National Hockey Stadium in Bukit Jalil last night. THT, who competed as the reigning TNB Cup holders, went ahead after just 7 minutes when Faisal slotted home a penalty corner set piece before adding the second goal of a penalty stroke in the 35th minute. 5 minutes later, Muhammad Arif Shafi'i Ishaq piled on the misery for TNB when he notched goal number 3 for the East Coast side off yet another penalty corner set piece. Despite being 3-0 down, TNB showed great determination to narrow the deficit to 3-2 with national player Muhammad Najib Abu Hassan scoring a field goal in the 45th minute and a Faiz Helmi Jali penalty corner goal in the 52nd minute. Meanwhile, THT coach Roslan Jamaluddin was thrilled by the determination shown by his players in holding on for a valuable victory, as they also got 3 points to kickstart their MHL campaign this year. That concludes today's edition of Updates at Noon. In our top story, government never forced children to be vaccinated. Tune in to News at 10 coming up at 10 p.m. on saluran Berita RTM on My Previews channel 123. We'll leave you with a clip of large waves and strong winds that hit New Haven Beach Harbour, while during Storm Eunice, the code red weather warning was in place across southern England and South Wales, where schools were closed and transport paralysed. Thank you, I'm Azlani. Goodbye for now.